books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting. Shelve it!
In a sec. Did you hear that?
Did I hear what?
That woman go recording in progress.
Yeah, but that wasn't you, was it?
No.
That was an American robot.
I know it is, but just to know you are. Hi.
How you doing, Holly?
Welcome to the Eggs 2023 Book Club. I feel like I've got to present it, even though, I don't know what I'm doing. But you're James from Yard Act, aren't you?
I am.
And you're going like that, but your camera keeps going, which I think is very in line with today's book that we're talking about-ish, but, loosely, which is Thomas Pynchon's Vineland. And the reason I'm talking to you today about it is because you sent me this in the post.
I did. And that's my copy, so I don't actually have a copy to hand.
Well, I can send it you back if you like.
It's a gift to you. I should have picked up another copy. And the reason I wasn't like saying I wanted it back. I was saying it was a long time ago I read it, and because I sent you my copy, I haven't had a chance to skim over my notes, which you said was fine.
It is fine because you know what? Book clubs, I don't know what, I've never been in a book club before, and I really don't, and not necessarily want to be. I don't know whether it's my kind of thing, but what I do like is talking to people that I like about books, because I think sometimes, I was just saying this to Stuart Braithwaite last time on the book club, because I read his book, Spaceships Over Glasgow, that, with records and stuff, you hear on the radio all the time, like, oh, that's a new band, that's great. But it's very rare that you can get, well, I've not found anything to get into new books that I like.
Yeah.
God, you go into bookshops all the time and they're like, this is new. Yeah, but is it any good? There's so much shit out there.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm still working my way through the classics and new classics. When we started this club last year at Deershed Festival, you were the first one to send me the books, and you got me into Brautigan, who was an author I wasn't even aware of, and I don't understand how I wasn't aware of him. Now I've read the books you sent me and I've fallen in love with his writing style and started telling everyone else about him. I didn't know who he was, and like my dad, who's probably I'm probably in a book club with my dad, I suppose. He gives me most of the recommendations. He had no idea who he was, and he's the one who got me into Vonnegut and stuff, and he had no idea who Brautigan was. So there's gold from the past, never mind new books. There's absolute gold from the past that I'm still trying to find. So, I'm happy to be here.
Totally. And I think that's what I want. I want people from the book club to just give us some recommendations and that. Because I don't know whether it's like the music world, like when there's unfound authors. Because I discovered an author a few years ago called Castle Freeman. And
Right.
he really reminded me of Cormac McCarthy. But he writes about his hometown in Vermont, and almost all his books are set there, and they're all about his community and his area and the weird people that live there. And he writes in a way, he's got a real beautiful stylized way, almost similar to Brautigan, I think. In the say his writing's a little bit like poetic. When you read it, you like his sentences are beautiful. And I love the way he's just like, he lives in his town, and as an author, all his characters are from this town, but as an author, he lives in that town and he's never moved. And it's that sort of thing, but he's quite underground. I'd never have heard of him. I don't know even how I came across him. But yeah, it's that sort of thing. That's what I'm interested in, digging deep into the shit that's really good.
Yeah.
But talking about like getting in deep, had you read any Pynchon before this?
No, so I think I may have spoken to you on Twitter or Instagram when you posted your book list that I've twice started and abandoned Gravity's Rainbow. and I can see it on me. Oh, where's it gone? Has someone had it? Maybe I've taken it. I think I might have actually. Where is it? I think I might have taken it upstairs and put it on my bedside table in the pile of ready to reads based off the back of Vineland, and I still haven't started it.
That'll be there for 5 years then.
Yeah, but I'm getting into that idea of reading. I know you said you kept picking it up and reading it sort of in bits, and it.
In the end, do you know what I had to do in the end with Gravity's Rainbow? I had to say I'm going to read for it was like 20 minutes or half an hour. No, it was 10 pages a day. And I had to read 10 pages, and it was like doing a marathon or something, like breaking it down to get the fucking thing over with. And that's how I did it.
Probably 2 sentences that as well, isn't it? He doesn't.
Yeah, but it was. But that's the thing that's what I found with Vineland as well. Like I read it and hated the process of reading it, and then afterwards I just wanted to read it again.
Yeah. It's good. I found it really, really palatable and easy to read in comparison to Gravity's Rainbow. I read it on tour in the space of two weeks, which is pretty good going because I get sickness if I read while we're moving. So I must have read that at night time over 2 weeks. And yeah, I loved it, and I thought it was proper zany, and I thought that I love his flow. I think it's nice when you find a writer who doesn't adhere to the norms and conventions of how you're supposed to write, because I was often told I often didn't use full stops and wrote really long sentences that went on for ages when I was doing creative writing at school, and was constantly told I was doing it wrong and didn't know how to do it properly. And it's, Cormac McCarthy's the same, actually. He's apart from in the road, he uses quite a lot of full stops, but the way he writes, and he doesn't use quotation marks, does he? With his,
I mean, I'm his biggest fan. I've not bought the last two because I don't buy hardback books as a general rule, because they're just too heavy.
Too heavy, yeah.
So I'm waiting for them to come out in paperback. But yeah, I'm a massive Cormac McCarthy fan.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So it is that. I mean, the thing is, for me, it was really funny because obviously I've been through the ordeal of Gravity's Rainbow, which was brilliant but hard work. And this, I was like, started reading it. I was like, oh, this is fine. This is great. Yeah, happy with this. But it was I was almost always thinking, like, cling on, don't lose now. And then I lost it halfway through a little bit. I think it's when, like, sort of that Prairie goes and she goes to find a mum and that, and it all goes a bit, and there's so many characters, and it felt a little bit like, oh my God, here we go. Right, I've lost it now. And like trying to scramble back and cling on to it. But then I think with Pynchon, you just have to let yourself go, really. You can't, the more you fight to understand it, the worse it gets.
Yeah, based off reading this book and the first third of Gravity's Rainbow I've read twice, I'd agree. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the characters' names now. This is, I mean, I don't know what people like what we're intending to, like you said, we don't know what a discussion of a book club is, whether it's like, we don't just need to explain the plot, do we? So I suppose there's that bit in it where there's those two. There's a bit where they're like stealing a car for ages, and it's two new characters, and I can't remember the names. Can you remember?
No, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm good. Don't make me look it up. It'll take me forever. It's not the there's the DT, and then there's that Tashihi.
No, but I love Tashihi. I love that bit. I loved all the sort of Hawaiian, all the lyrics songs. And that was. Did you like when you were reading the lyrics with the tunes, when he's performing?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
there we go.
The melody you hear when you're doing it, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, thought it was brilliant, but halfway through I thought, right, and I know I'm going to talk to you about this. I'm going to try and work out why I find Pynchon quite hard. You know, at times I think he's well known for it.
Yeah.
I reckon it's long sentences.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
God, it doesn't stop. If you analyze like one of his sentences, it goes on and on further. And then by the time you get to the end of it, you're like, what are you on about again? Do you know?
Yeah,
That's his style, I reckon, in it.
definitely. But rereading it, because I occasionally would try and go back to the start of the sentence and work out what I've missed. And doing that is pointless as well. I think sometimes it's better to just let the prose wash over you and accept that
Totally.
you need to follow it in that sense.
I mean, Pynchon is the only book I've ever read that I've wanted to read it again immediately after. Like with Gravity's Rainbow, not immediately after, but I've definitely thought I'm going to read that bugger again. And
have you done it twice yet?
No, I have not. No, I haven't. No, I didn't. I didn't read another Pynchon for a year after that because it was really, it wasn't enjoyable. But I guess it's like that thing of, you know, like when you're in life or whatever, like an experience can be good to experience, but not entirely enjoyable. Like a bad acid trip or whatever. It's kind of, it's interesting, but you have to ride it out. And you wouldn't necessarily want to do it again, so I feel like that's how I feel reading Pynchon. So I absolutely love it, really.
Yeah, that's testament to his writing style and I guess to Vineland. Did you read Vineland twice then?
No, I've not. No, because I've only just finished it. I'm on to the next one, which is Paul Bowles. Have you ever read any Paul Bowles?
No. You'll have to send me some recommendations.
I will. He's good, actually. Yeah, and he's right. It's interesting when you're reading authors who write in like the 40s and 50s, when I think that was when Paul Bowles is writing, because it seems his writing seems so fresh, but it was written years and years and years ago. Which
where is he from?
Right. I think he's an American writer. He's got quite an interesting history, actually. I think he was a composer as well, like a classical composer. I'd have to look it up, but I think it was 50s he's writing, and he writes a lot about Morocco and like sort of North Africa.
Okay.
And it's kind of, really straight and kind of, you know, like, have you read Old Man in Havana by Graham Greene?
I've read a few Graham Greene books, but I've not read that, no.
It's a bit like, you know, like your expat abroad sort of thing, but in colonial times. So it's like really straight, but then there's always a really weird edge to it, which probably doesn't seem that weird to us now, living in these times. But back then it would have been really probably quite subversive and that. So
yeah, okay.
Good though. But I mean, I don't think we need, see, in my personal thing of the book club, I don't think we really need to talk too much about the book, because I think books are different for different people, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just ask you a quick few questions about books generally.
Do it. That sounds nice.
I mean, one thing that bugs me, how do you feel about introductions on books?
I often skip them and then return to them if I enjoyed the book.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Why is it, I wonder, they always seem to spoil it for me, having an introduction. They give the plot away a lot of the time and stuff. And you're like, I don't get it. I don't get why they have them.
Yeah. I mean, I like if I watch an episode of good telly and I've missed bits, I like to then go and Google it afterwards and look at what I've missed. An introduction to a book is kind of the same thing for me. The context, as you know, especially like with sort of older and more culturally relevant a book gets, the context in the introduction is usually important, but it's nice to not have your view of it sullied or just even it's nice to not have your perspective altered by context sometimes. It's nice to take it as it is, removed from time, and then look back on it and go, right, that's That was why that was that, and I don't know. It gives a new layer to the book after you've read it. I think.
I think so. They should be at the end.
They should be at the end.
Should be.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just nice to speak to people about stuff like that, because it's something that I always just think, why do they bother put? They're so bloody annoying. What's your favourite book of all time? Do you have one or a few?
I have a few. I mean, I know it's a classic, but like as an author, Steinbeck, I've always fallen for. I think because he was the first author that I really got into, again through my dad. Through Grapes of Wrath. I think when I first read Grapes of Wrath, I must have been about 12 or 13, and it was. I remember we read an excerpt of it in an English lesson, and there was something. I always just had that like weird, that sort of like nostalgia for like the burgeoning American dream. I don't know why that appealed to me so much, that Steinbeck writes in that sort of like that. It's like it's on the cusp of like it's the hope of America, even in like the Great Depression. He writes very romantically and forthright in that sense about the sort the hope to overcome, and he sells the American dream of everyone can get there in the end, like even through depression and desolation. That's how he kind of writes, and I don't know why that appealed so earnestly to a lad 100 years later from the northwest of.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I love a lot of American literature. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I'm addicted to it, and I can't tell you why, because it's like, I don't know. There's something like otherworldly about it, and it still feels like dead far away from where I live, and like romantic in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think the American dream is what it represents is so much more powerful than what it actually constitutes, and I think that in itself is probably because the power of the American dream, that everyone can succeed and everyone's equal, even though they're clearly not, is like the power of that in all sort of artistic mediums, but particularly in the written word, is like it's so epic.
I mean, I like it when they don't as well. Like one of my favourite Steinbeck novels is Cannery Row. Do you know?
Yeah,
it's full of bums, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, all drinking moonshine and just stealing each other's shit and stuff, and it's just really, really funny to me. And yeah, that's like the broken American dream, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I think that's the book I've read most in my life. Actually, I've read that about 5 or 6 times. So
Cannery Row.
Probably the one that I've gone, because it's such an easy read, and it's so it is just so funny when they go on that frog hunt. It's laugh out loud.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and whenever a book can do that, I think that's writing at its most powerful, for words alone to make you cough laughing. That, because there's a lot of stuff you go like, you kind of read it and you're quite smug and you go, oh, that was funny, I enjoyed that in your head, but you don't actually laugh. So when the written word can make you like absolutely cackle, it's like that's a skill, that's an art form. Amazing.
Yeah, it does. I think Brautigan does that with me. I've done that before with Brautigan, totally roaring. And also the other book that did it with me was Confederacy of Dunces.
Yeah, I love that book. Yeah.
Like Ignatius is so ridiculous. It just makes you cackle. But yeah, it's a good reaction, isn't it, when you do that for a book? And it's not even trying to be funny, but it is, you know.
Yeah.
So you'd say a Steinbeck novel, would you, for your favourite?
I See, that was just my. I'm just looking at my shelf now. These are all my old books down here, but
Just go for it. There's so many books, you've got to choose one.
I mean, oh God, if I
Well, I'll give you another. I'll give you another option then. What book would you recommend to a friend?
I always go for Breakfast of Champions by Vonnegut. If
Oh,
people, yeah, have you read that? You must have read that.
Yeah, but only recently, actually, like last year or something. It was great. I loved it. It's so fun. Again, really funny.
Yeah, he's another favourite writer of mine. I think and the more I learned about him as a person, the more I liked him as well.
Oh, I don't know anything about him.
So he was the head of the humanist religion for years.
Oh, really?
He was one of the founding members of the humanist organization, which is just pretty banging idea for religion, really. It's he just seemed like a decent guy. He had a pretty optimistic, nihilistic approach to the meaning of life, and I think that comes across in his writing. Yeah, and there's elements of sci-fi without it, but it's always a human. It's always like a human social. It's always a social study of humans presented through where technologies could go with his writing, which I think is more interesting than just sci-fi when it basically becomes fantasy, because I've struggled with that. Like I've had a mate lend me, Ursula K. Is it Ursula K. Le Guin? Have you read any of?
No, I've been writing that down.
Yeah, I mean, well, I say that I've struggled with it, but I have always struggled with sci-fi apart from
in a Pynchon way.
See, it's Pynchon sci-fi.
No, I'm just saying, did you struggle with it in a Pynchon way, or did you struggle with it in a this is boring? Like I get what it's on about, but it's just not my thing.
More the second. With Pynchon, I always enjoyed it. I just lost track of the plot, and kind of when you put it down, your brain isn't urging to go. This plot is still tangible, even if you're enjoying something for the pure absurdity of it. And I think it was the denseness.
Have you read any Arthur C. Clarke? Because he's really good.
I haven't. No, you need to send me a list again, Holly, because
I'll send you a few sci-fi ones, because I do quite like sci-fi now, but I wouldn't say I'm a sci-fi. Like that's not what I'm really into. I'd say if you had to say, American literature is probably my biggest love. Just because it's all the stuff, and then just anything that's a really great story, look, or beautifully written. Oh my God! Like I have to tell you about this. The collected works of Billy the Kid, that was sent to me by Tim Wells. Do you know Tim Wells? He's a poet.
Name rings a bell, yeah.
And it's just the beautifulest writing ever. I think this guy is a poet who's written a prose book, but the way it's written is just beautiful. So yeah, to me, if a book's good, it's good. It doesn't really matter what genre. And I think there's some belting sci-fi, like Michael Moorcock's Dances at the End of Time is an absolute belter.
Oh, cool. I know that name.
He's out of a Hawkwind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's a belter that I read just before Christmas, and that was absolutely brilliant. And then like Arthur C. Clarke, Space Oddity 2001, and also
oh right, okay.
And then Rama, I think he Rendezvous with Rama he wrote as well, which I read fairly recently. That was said good. But so maybe it's the sci-fi that you're reading isn't your thing.
Maybe. I mean, I read a few Philip K. Dick ones. I mean, that's the obvious.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, I mean, it's not even just literature. It's even films. I kind of not. Maybe I've just got a negative impression of sci-fi because I didn't like Star Wars, and I've written the entire thing off.
Could be, but a good book's a good book. So
cool. Yeah, I'll give it another go.
Go on.
No, I was gonna ask what your next question was.
I was just going to say, finally, because I don't want to blether on too much. Have you got a book that you could recommend to people in this book club to say, you know?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's quite a modern book. Again, I'm looking at my shelf and it's gone because I've lent it to my sister. I read a book a few years ago called There by a native American writer called Tommy Orange. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
I haven't, no. I'm writing it down right now.
Because I really enjoyed it. And it was one of them where, you know, like you were saying, you don't really know where to start with modern books because you know, it's easy to listen to a song, and if you don't like it, it's easy to listen to a song by a new band, and then if it's not your thing, you just move on. It's cost 3 minutes of your life. Whereas with a book, it's an investment, and it's hard to know where to invest when you can't, you know. So this is one of them where I was really into it when I read it, and I read it in one sitting, and it's all set within the space of a day in Oakland, California, and it's a really great book. It's written from the perspective of several different characters, all in the first person, and I loved it. Yeah, There by Tommy Orange. I read that, and I read the Underground Railroad as well, which I think that won the Pulitzer. I think it's a TV show now. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Colston Whitehead, I think it is. I can see that one. Let me check.
I haven't read that. That's going on my list as well.
Yeah, Colson Whitehead. What else have we got? Sorry, I'm recommending a few now. Is that a problem?
He's gone. That's it. A man gone to his book collection, never to be seen again.
Oh, I got one. Hang on. Can you hear me? I'm back.
Yay!
Sorry, I was just rattling through my shelf because you put me on the spot. That's the Underground Railroad. That won the Pulitzer in 2017. So it's.
And what? Never mind about the Pulitzer. Did you like it?
I loved it. It's
all right.
Heartbreaking and hopeful all in one. You know, it's. I ended up doing a lot of research on the Underground Railroad after I'd read it, because I didn't really know much about that, but it's pretty fascinating. And then the last one is, have you read this before?
No.
You'll love this. I pulled this off the shelf because that is a book for you. I'll send you a copy of that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to hold on to this one. This is so yeah, 60s, 70s, B.S. Johnson.
Is it set in America?
No, he's a UK writer.
Oh, I was going to go through my list of things.
I'll read you the back. Go on.
And then
Christy Mallory is a simple man. As a young accounts clerk at a confectionery factory in London, he learns the principles of double entry bookkeeping. Frustrated by the petty injustices that beset his life, particularly those caused by the behaviour of authority figures, he determines a unique way to settle his grievances, a system of moral double entry bookkeeping.
Sounds good.
It is really good, and he tallies it all up, so you can see you get his bookkeeping as well.
Oh wow!
Which is it's really funny. So, October the 1st, unpleasantness of bank manager, £1. Recommends small kindness from Joan, 0.28p.
God.
October through April, branch atmosphere as described. Virtually forced to join staff association. It's really funny. I will send you a copy of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I am always looking.
Book swap as well.
I always want new shit to read. I'm always looking for the good new stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because, well, it doesn't have to be new, but new to me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I've got one that you haven't read. I'm really excited. Have you read the ones I sent you after Vineland? Did you read Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison?
No, not yet, because I'm quite a slow reader, James.
So am I.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I've not got round to it. I've only read this one yet, and I'm on Paul Bowles next. But I will get round to it this year, and then I might have to drag you back on and say you were responsible for this.
Again.
We'll do it. Good. We'll do it at the end of the year.
Can I ask you a question?
Go on.
So, this is something that I find really interesting. You know, when you read a book and then it gets turned into a film.
Yes.
How often have you imagined a specific character in that book and they are represented the same on screen? How often are they completely different in your head to how they are then cast and portrayed in whatever the film adaptation?
Well, it never the same.
Yeah.
And me and David have had this discussion quite a bit. And I would say the only film version, or maybe I'm starting to think of new examples, but one of the only film versions of a book that I think is as good as a book or on a level with the book is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Right, cool.
Which I think is a brilliant film. I think it's just done really well. I think the acting is amazing and they've got it spot on. But apart from that, there are very few films that I think, you know, you've really nailed this, or it's as I imagined. Are you the same?
Yeah, the brain's much more powerful, isn't it? Than the There's been times when I've seen a film first and then read the book and still got a lot out of the book and not been.
But do you think it's an ego thing? Because when you're reading a book, right, your own mind is the director. Yeah. So you're bound to like it more because you've been in control over the characterization in your head. Whereas when you're watching a film, somebody else has decided all that for you. So you're naturally going to build a picture that that's pleasing to you in your head, or that you think it should be like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's probably that. It's definitely.
Well, that's why reading is so satisfying, because we all build our worlds in our own head that makes the story as good as it can be for us. Do you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess.
And it's what makes it a collaborative process, isn't it, with the writer?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what they perceive, because.
And that's what's interesting. And why really, I think reading is quite a personal thing, and you get a personal relationship with a book when you read it. And I was thinking about this just before we chatted. I was like, oh, you know, I don't really want to go over the story and stuff, because it's like you almost take for granted that everyone's knows what it's about. And then you don't want to go into it too much, because I think it's very subjective, and it's not like, you know, when you come out of the pictures and you say to your friend, oh, what was your favorite bit? Like we always do that with our little lad, like, what was your favorite bit when you've been to the cinema? And, you know, you don't do that with books.
No.
Yeah. Because it's a personal and slow relationship. So I think you can, you know, that's what I think. And then you'll bloody go on YouTube and you'll type in Vineland Pynchon, and there'll be some bloody literary critic going on for about 2 hours about, you know, all the meaning, the subtext and whatever and all that shit. But, you know, for me, it's a spiritual thing, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, rightly. Yeah, I agree.
Right, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed that.
I did.
I'll get some more books in the post soon.
And thank you for them recommendations.
No worries. Thanks so much. Cheers, Holly.
See you later, my love. Bye.